Hey book friends, welcome back to another Friday Reads video where I just like to chat through all my reading. What I've finished reading, I'll tell you about that, what I'm currently reading, how I'm liking it, and what I'm thinking of reading next. So that's how I structure these videos. Very fun, very casual, and so that's the plan for this video. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you've been coming for a while. So like I said, Friday Reads video, super fun. I have a lot to update you guys on because I wasn't able to do last week's Friday Reads. So this is kind of 2 weeks of reading, and that's been good because it has not been a big book reading couple of weeks. We've had a lot going on, but I still have gotten some books read. And the first one I want to talk to you guys about, because you helped me out a ton in the last Friday Reads video, which I'll link above if you didn't see it and want to go back and watch it, in case you do, because I talked about this book. I talked about not feeling it. I felt like it was an unpopular historical fiction opinion, is I just wasn't into it. I wasn't enjoying it. There was one particular character that I was just very irritated by. And so after making that video, you guys were great in the comments. This is why I love having a booktube channel. You all helped me out so much to decide if I wanted to keep reading it. Because for me, it's not so much that I am worried about having an unpopular opinion, like that you won't like me because I don't like the book you like. I'm not so much worried about that. For me, it is more FOMO. Like, I am worried that I'm gonna miss the end of a really good book. Like, if I had just stuck it out, it would have been awesome and amazing. And that is usually what keeps me reading into books that maybe I should have DNF'd. But what you guys helped me with is most of you in the comments agreed with my sentiments about said character. And some of you were like, yes, it was so bad, I just stopped reading it. But most of you told me, yes, you agreed with me on that. But the book had reasons and you should keep reading. And so I did. I kept reading. It took me a little bit to pick it back up. I had to be back in the mood for it, but once I picked it back up, you guys were right. So I picked back up this and I finished it. I actually finished it yesterday. And I loved it. It was really good. I mean, I still probably won't give it a full 5 stars because of how much I could not handle the mother character and my strong feelings about that, because I still feel that way. I feel like I didn't like her character and I didn't like the way the daughter responded to her character. But like I've said, this is a World War II book about a girl who is involved in the resistance via forgeries. Like, she is gifted at forging documents and she's helping a lot of children, Jewish children, escape France. And so it's an excellent book. I really did like it. The second part got so much better. There's so many feels in this book. The characters were probably the best part. I mean, aside from the mother, right? The characters, her character was good. I mean, I didn't like how she responded to the mother, right? I thought she could have had a little bit more, I don't know, spine in that, but I liked the other people. I really was invested with their cause and like the fact that they were willing to give their lives to save these people. And it wasn't just children, but it was mostly children, and the idea that they knew that they were like steps away from being discovered and tortured and all of these things, but it was worth doing. And to me, that was beautiful. And the relationship in this book, the one with the main character, was just really sweet. And I think that probably was one of my more favorite parts of the book, which really kept me going, is I really wanted to know what would happen with them. And I felt very invested in their story. I felt like their feelings were very real, even during this time that was just awful, right? It's like, you think, like, who could fall in love during World War II, right? But it was beautiful, and I really did like that. And honestly, I haven't decided how many stars I'm gonna give it yet because I just finished it yesterday, but it's still kind of on my mind. I'm really glad I finished it. I'm really glad I pushed through that character and saw kind of what the author was doing with that, because I figured she had to be doing something. I figured it wasn't just for kicks that she would make such an irritating character. All right, next book. I finished this book, the Lucy Foley book. So this is my first Lucy Foley book. The guest list, it was a really good one. It has a little bit of the Agatha Christie and then there were none vibes, where you have this group of people who are all on an island and a murder happens and it's kind of trying to figure out what happened and who did it. And it's told from the perspective of these people who are involved in this wedding, because it's a wedding on an island and someone is murdered. You hop from perspective to perspective, which I liked. I did find most of the characters, if not all of them, kind of unlikable. I really didn't like some of the main characters and I just didn't relate to them, but that's okay. I don't have to relate to all the characters in a book. But what I liked about this book is it kept me reading, it kept me interested. I was trying to figure out, one, who was getting murdered, because you don't know that, and two, who was going to do it, right? Like, they all felt like they could murder people. That's how it felt. They were all kind of terrible and or troubled. So yes, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good thriller mystery, probably more mystery than thriller. It was a fun intro into Lucy Foley. I can't remember if I even rated this on Goodreads yet. I think I'm going to give it a 4-star though, because it was very enjoyable. I really liked it. So the next book I finished was this one, which I was talking a lot about in the last Friday Reads video. I loved it. It was a very fun Agatha Christie book. I actually just watched Chantel's from Chantel Reads All Day, her video going through this. So she actually does a spoiler-filled vlog where she tries to solve a mystery, and she does the whole whiteboard and all of that. And one of you mentioned that to me on my last video where Chantel does that, because that was what I was feeling like. I just wanted to write all these characters down and figure out who did it. And so she does that. And so it was really entertaining to go watch her video after I read this. I mean, the main reason I picked up this one in particular, I mean, I'm trying to read more Agatha Christie, but this one in particular is because there is a movie coming out this month. Maybe it's already out. I don't know. We haven't had time to go to the movies. And so I'm really excited to go watch that movie. But this is about a murder on a boat on the Nile. And the main detective, Poirot, was on the boat and he is figuring out who did it. It is very straightforward. It is very much like, here's the cast of characters who could have done it. And then how could they do it? Who actually did it? And you're trying to figure it out alongside the detectives, which I really like. I like kind of their point of view as they're trying to rule out people or rule in people or figure out how it could be done. And you can just tell he has just this like really smart mind for figuring these things out. And so I really enjoyed it. I cannot say that I solved the mystery. At one point I had it right, but then I quickly moved on to somebody else and all this stuff. So it was clever. It was just really clever and I really, really enjoyed it. So if you don't read much Agatha Christie, this one's a really fun one. So those are the books I've read. Next on to the books I am reading. 2 of the books I'm really into and then another I just started. So I'll briefly touch on that. But I picked up this book and I'm loving it. Like, I've been talking to my husband kind of constantly about it because I'm like, this book, I've been looking for this book ever since I watched Knives Out and loved that movie. And it is strikingly similar to that movie in a different way, but the main premise is very similar, of the fact that there is this girl who does not have very much money. In this case, she is a teenager. She's living with her sister and she doesn't have very much money. And then she gets tracked down and she gets told that this rich person left her money in a will. She just has to go to the reading and see what happens. So she, of course, is like, oh, okay, I don't know this person, but if he left me a little bit of money, that'd be great. But then it ends up that he left her a significant amount, pretty much his whole inheritance. And now she is like this teenage billionaire. But there are some stipulations that she has to stay in the house with his 4 grandsons for at least a year in order to keep the inheritance. So it goes from there. And what I'm loving the puzzle aspect of this, the idea that this grandfather or this man was really into riddles and puzzles and things like that. And so you're wondering how much of the situation is a riddle or is a puzzle. And the house in and of itself is kind of like, has all these mazes and secret passageways and fun things like that. And these boys who are also like teenagers or early 20s were raised in this house by this man who was very eccentric. And so they already kind of know how to play the game. She doesn't know how to play the game. What game are they playing? It's just so good. Like, I'm halfway. And I love it, like, to the point where I'm definitely going to pick up the second book, probably even before I finish this one. And the third book is coming out this year. So I'm super pumped about that. And I'm really liking this. I could probably finish this in a night, and I probably will. So you will definitely hear back from me on this, but it's so much fun. And if anybody else has any recommendations that is similar to this, let me know, because this is my kind of book. Hands down, my kind of book. So the next book I am reading is nothing like that, but it is a thriller. And that is this one. So Falling by T.J. Newman. So this is a book that I'm currently listening to, and it is fascinating. It's really like anxiety inducing and intriguing, and I'm just not sure where it's going to go. So far, it's about this man who is a pilot who has been contacted by these kidnappers that the kidnappers have kidnapped. I said that too many times. They've kidnapped his wife and children, and if he does not crash the plane, they will be murdered, basically. So he has to decide what he's going to do. And we're very early on, and I feel like this book is going to cover like a 6-hour time frame or something like that, the whole thing. So we're very early in that. I'm not sure if I'm loving the writing style per se. It feels like the characters are a little flat, or maybe just the main character, or maybe I'm just not liking him. And it might be because this book jumps right in. There's like no backstory. There's no getting to know the family. There's no like getting attached to the characters in any way. It's like, bam, you're on the airplane sort of idea, which is fine. Like, I'm okay with that. It's a thriller. Like, maybe that would have been boring. I'm not sure. But I feel like I'm not connected yet to his character. I'm still pretty early in it. I think I was like 15% into the book on my app. And so it's good, though. I can see why people like it. I'm looking forward to seeing kind of where it goes. So that's that book. And then the book that I am literally like 5 pages into, I've talked about it a lot lately. It's called Someone I Used to Know by Paige Toon, recommended by Emily over at Novelle Novels. So this is about siblings. It's about this girl who got a stepbrother kind of as she was a teenager, didn't necessarily want one, and then there was another friend at that time that kind of created their little friend group as teenagers. And then they go about their lives, and then this book is starting with them as adults. It's starting with the foster son throwing a party for the parents, and she is coming to it, and you can already sense some tension and some comparison, and you just know there's some backstory. There's some stuff that has happened from when they were teenagers to this kind of party, and 'cause she has like a small child, and she's obviously married, I think. But anyway, it sounds like it's gonna give me all the feels. Like there's just gonna be some potentially heart-wrenching things that have happened or will happen, and they just have to be a family and like ride the storm together sort of idea. That's what it feels like so far. So that is what I'm currently reading. As for what I want to pick up, I'm not sure, you guys. I have a few more books left on my TBR from my TBR game that I ran at the beginning of the month. And I've read a lot of them, actually. A lot of these books were on the TBR. But this book is still calling to me because I mentioned it in my last Friday Reads video. I want to pick up Red Rising. There it goes. Okay. I wanted to pick up Red Rising, which is a science fiction book about basically, I think, colonizing Mars, maybe? It is about colonizing Mars, and it's about the different sets of people on there because there's this caste system of people who are more important and less important. The group of people in the gold caste are very much the important people of the society, and then the people on the bottom end are the reds. And there's this man who is part of the reds, and something happens to make him particularly vengeful towards the golds and towards how they're running things. I'm sure there's lies and corruption and politics and all that, but he decides to take a bit of it into his own hands, and he starts to infiltrate up the color system, up the caste system for some end game. I'm not quite sure, but it sounds like he's able to do that to some extent, even though usually that's not the case. Usually people kind of stay where they are, and you learn a lot with that. What I have heard from this is that there's a lot in the beginning that's hard to understand. There's a lot of information about all the different castes, all the different colors, and that might make it hard to get into, but then it's really good at the end. So knowing that, I feel like I can jump into this book and not get taken off guard by that. So I'm hoping to pick that up. That's my hopes for the next book. It really probably depends on what kind of mood I'm in once I finish the books I am currently reading, which I'm loving. I'm loving all the books I'm currently reading. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. That's what my reading life has been over the past couple of weeks. Let me know down below, what are you currently reading? Are you loving it? Are you not loving it? So that's all I have for this video. I hope you liked it. Thumbs up, subscribe, all the things if you did. And otherwise, I will see you in the next book video, guys. All right. Have a wonderful day.